Hi everyone, welcome back again to Witches the Moon. You have made it to week, I think this is week 13. Yes, it is week 13, Herb Week. Yay! Again, if I don't write it down, I don't remember it. So this week, I was going to talk about I got my rosemary together, but rosemary wasn't the herb I chose. So I'm going to talk about the herb I chose. Just forgive me because I don't have a physical example of it here with me. I'm still waiting on mine to arrive. But I want to talk about mandrake root. And mandrake root is something that a lot of people stay away from because it is considered a baneful herb, meaning that it can be poisonous if ingested. So it is something you should use with caution. But a mandrake root is popular for many different things, and it was used medicinally in the earlier times, like in the 1300s, 1500s, and so on. I'm not exactly sure when it was no longer used widely for medicinal purposes, but it is known to have many medicinal properties, and I'm going to talk about that because I have this lovely journal that my friend Teresa Lawson gave me for my birthday some years ago, and I use it to track all of my herbs, all of the learning I have about herbs. So I have a section in here on mandrake root, and I left this little space here because I wanted to put a picture of it, but I don't have one. So I'll find one to add to the beginning of this video, but it's not, I'm sorry I don't have an actual physical example. The mandrake root that I do have at my office is crushed up mandrake root because we usually use the root of the herb, sometimes the bark, and sometimes even berries because it does flower, it sprouts out. Now, when you see a mandrake root, it's very anamorphic, meaning it looks like a person, which is why people were drawn to it. People cultivate these and refer to them as people, basically. I'm in a mandrake growing group on Facebook that the wonderful Matt Aron has started, and I've learned a lot there. So before I even start growing mine, I joined the group so that I would learn more and could do it right from the start. And there are some big time people in there. Raven Gramasi is one of the witches that's in that group, and his wife Stephanie. And their plants are incredible. Now, when you are cultivating mandrake root, it is important that you get the right kind of pot because mandrake roots do not grow out like most plants do. Their root system doesn't grow out, it grows continuously down. So you may start with a small, narrow, kind of long pot, and then you may have to get bigger, longer pots. They should be repotted about once a year. Some people use lights on theirs to cultivate it. It needs certain lighting conditions and that kind of thing. But you can buy it if you don't want to grow it. So don't stress if growing it's not your thing. They do have these like cool little like almost exclamation point shaped leaves when they sprout out, and people get super excited. So I want to talk about some of the things that we use it for. Now, there are two types of mandrake that are used, and the one I'm going to talk about is Mandragora officinarum. There is another one. It's like a dark mandrake root and a light mandrake root, or a northern and a southern. I can't remember exactly what the differences are between the two, but it is known also as Mandragora, and it's also known as the devil's apple. Now, the parts that we use are the herb itself, the root, and we also use the leaves. We also use the berries. It says here the berries are used to increase fertility, and it's also known to increase psychic ability. And that's one of the things I want to get into. Mandrake root has medicinal properties and magical properties. The magical properties I'll get into in a second, but they have been, the leaves have been boiled in milk and used as a poultice, which is good for ulcers or like canker sores, that kind of thing. Again, anytime that you are using an herb like mandrake, you need to be especially careful, and I would not recommend you ingest it directly. You even need to be careful with some of these and touching them. So, Blue Rocket or wolfsbane, you want to be real careful about just touching it because the toxicity does run through the plant. Now, the effects of mandrake, it's very similar in characteristics to belladonna, and is often used as a substitute for belladonna in things like flying ointments. Now, when I create my flying ointment, I use mandrake, belladonna, and wolfsbane. So, just so you know, that's what's in it. It was often used to help control convulsions way back in the day because it does slow the heart rate, so it calms the body. it will make you vomit. So it was used as a purgative. You know, make you vomit things out. It was also the bark. It was expressed. The bark of the root was expressed into juice or infused into wine and water, and was used to help with rheumatoid pain, melancholy, which is what they used to call depression, convulsions, and that sort of thing. So it was something that was infused into wine. I have never tasted it because I won't ingest it because it is poisonous, but you know, I wouldn't recommend using it in those things. I'm just putting that out there for informational purposes. It was also finally scraped into a pulp and mixed with brandy. It was said to be efficacious for chronic rheumatism. So a poultice is just something that's topically applied. So when they crush up the herb, it releases the oils. So that would be infused with the alcohol from the brandy and then like placed on the joints and providing a slight warming and help to that. Magically, it's used in talismans, it's used in flying ointments, it's used as a talisman itself. It's also used as a poppet sometimes because of its humanoid shape. So if you're not good at sewing and you don't have access to a mandrake root and you want to cast a spell on somebody, use a mandrake root. You can use that in place of a poppet, my friends, because it does have that anamorphic shape where it looks like a human being. Now, one of the things that I do want to mention I learned from the growing group that is important is that it has a lot of like what are called feeler roots, little roots, and it's very important that when you dig the plant out to repot it that you try to, you know, give it wide berth and don't cut those little feeler roots off because it can stunt the growth of the mandrake root. Mandrake roots also, by the way, were used for prosperity spells. I'm not exactly sure why. I don't remember where I read that, but I did make a notation of that in the book that it was used for prosperity spells. I would think probably because it is so anamorphic, it looks like a person who's growing, and so you have growth, therefore you have prosperity. So they used the berries to increase fertility. It's used to increase your psychic ability. You can use it just as an herb itself in a spell that you're casting to try to open the third eye, or you can use it in a flying ointment. Again, I would be very cautious. It took me a long time to formulate my flying ointment. I use it primarily when I go to bed at night to help with lucid dreaming, and it's pretty strong. Um, every time I use it, I have really, really lucid dreams, but I will say that I also have a difficult time getting up in the morning. Um, I just want to go back to sleep, so be cautious about using it. It takes a lot of motivation for me to get up. Once I'm up and I'm out of the bed, I'm fine. It's just that if I'm permitted to hit the snooze button several times, I usually will because I will dream almost immediately. So it's good to help you sleep. I mean, it's really good for that, but it's not something I would use while I was driving. And again, you want to be cautious even with the topical absorption of things. You never know how it's going to affect you, so always be very cautious when using it for anything like that. So you can put it into a gree bag, you can put it into a small spell bag, you can use it in spell work for whatever purpose you feel it can obtain. Those are just some simple examples of how mandrake root is used. Again, if you're going to be growing your own, you can buy them from reputable sources. I suggest you look up the Mandrake Growers Group by Matt Oren on Facebook and see if you can talk with him about getting into that group, because they really have a lot of great information about how to grow them, how to repot them, what to look for. Raven put up a couple of videos on there, so thank you, Mr. Kamasi. Those videos were very useful. He was actually showing Stephanie repot one of their mandrakes. People often name their mandrakes, so Drake. I have a cousin named Drake, so I'm thinking I'll name my mandrake Drake. But in any case, it's a neat little plant to work with, and I'm very excited about growing my own because people seem to bond very much with these plants, and so I'm really excited about having that kind of a relationship. I do kind of have that relationship with my rosemary plant, and I kind of feel bad now that I plucked this off because there's nothing like the smell of fresh rosemary versus rosemary in a jar. But I guess since I'm not doing this video on rosemary, I wanted to bring that up. So again, two major types of mandrake. Mandrake grows downward, not outward. So when potting, use a long pot. Be careful. Repot once a year. Does sprout leaves and berries. Berries are used. Were used in to increase fertility. You can use the leaves, you can use the bark. Be cautious if you're going to do that. A lot of times I think people have a hard time harvesting and using their mandrakes because they do grow attached. They are anamorphic, can be used as a poppet, and are very good for use in flying ointments, and was often used as a cure for melancholy and convulsions and rheumatoid problems. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me, but I'm glad that I was able to impart a little bit of information about mandrake root, because I think it's a root that's often mentioned, talked about, known about, but rarely used that I've seen, and I think it's because people don't understand what it can be used for. So again, thank you so much for watching. Y'all have a blessed week. Blessed be.